to a video I've been wanting to make for a very long time. My thoughts on the characters in this game, the heroes, if you will. So my qualifications are this. I play hard streaking at the moment. I think I might branch out a little into unfair, but I reached a 23 streak. To be honest, I could have gone um, a little bit further. But 20 was my goal, and once I reached 20, I sort of decided that that was good enough. So I didn't keep going. Right, let's get into it. And we should probably start with all the oranges. Thief. I imagine this will be a sort of long video, so hopefully if I remember, I'll try and break it down into tier 1s, 2s, whatever. But let's do it color by color. Oh, that looks like a thief. No, that's a scoundrel. Well, since I found her, so let's first name the tiers. We have Yippee. I am happy. This is okay. I'm a bit sad. Awful. And I hate myself. Unpickable garbage. I lost where we were. Scoundrel is awful and I hate myself. Scoundrel is, these are her sides. 1 damage to all, 1 damage vulnerable. She never hits her sides, and when she does hit a side, it doesn't really mean much. Cool, especially in the early game. Thief, there you are. Thief is... I'm happy. In terms of oranges, oops, sorry. In terms of oranges, I think the oranges are pretty useless. At tier 1, not useless, but they're a bit bad. So I'm happy to see a thief. Lost. This looks like a lost to me. Yes, it is. Lost and Rogue I get confused because they both have the blacks around their eyes. Lost is probably the best. Lost sides are here. 1, 2, 2, 1. You can keep her Lost for a while. I know she has 3 HP, but she rolls dodges semi-frequently, and she just kills threats. So the HP doesn't matter so much. Dabble is... Oh, I see Clumsy, so let's do Clumsy. Unpickable garbage. You want to get off of this Clumsy character as soon as possible. Actually, no, sorry. Scoundrel's unpickable garbage. Clumsy is awful and I hate myself. Clumsy at least can cantrip into a 1, and I think you lock the cantrips whenever you see them. Or you lock things that aren't caltrops, I think. Scoundrel just does nothing. Clumsy at least is like not the worst, but I hate it, and I think when I put things in unpickable garbage tier, I think it means that at your earliest opportunity, you should probably be looking to upgrade from them. Only reason you shouldn't is if the other thing you're offered is like really, really good. Let's keep going. Dabble. There she is. I'm a bit sad when it comes to Dabble. Yeah. Actually, I should probably... This is probably more like it. I don't think any of these tier 1 oranges are spectacular. I think this is more like it. Okay. A fighter should be around here. There he is. This is okay. He wakes up, hits 1s and 2s. By the time you get to like fight 6, he's pretty bad. So you want to get off fighter pretty fast, but for the time you have him, he's okay. Brigand. I love Brigand. He hits 3s, like it's really good. Sure, it's a 3 exert, but it doesn't matter. I think once you get ahead in the fight, now once you're ahead, it's not so bad, and Brigand gets you ahead. Maybe a controversial one. Lazy is just a bit sad, or maybe it's awful. Okay, it's definitely awful. Okay, people do not like Lazy. I know this. I don't think Lazy's good. But compare Lazy to Scoundrel, who's in unpickable garbage tier. Scoundrel, she hits a 1 to all. Don't really care. She hits a 1 vulnerable. Probably again, half of the time you don't really care. Lazy, 3 shield, fine. A 3 damage, very, very good. So you just keep rolling Lazy down, and he hits one of these most of the time, right? Because the chance hits one of these most turns. Because the chance for him to exile is 2/3 cubed, so 8/27. So it's not, so he has a 15, sorry, no, what am I saying? He has a 19 over 27 chance to not X out, so it's pretty likely he hits something. And both his sides are fine. Ruffian where is he? Is this him, right? Yes. I'm sad. I hate this guy, actually. I don't think he's awful, but I hate him. He has this 5 damage pain side that is so hard to it's really hard to lock, and it's really hard to use because you need a gray for it, and maybe your red can help. So you might be spending mana. You're spending a lot of resources for 5 damage pain, and half the time the ruffian can't even kill the thing that's attacking him. So you'll need to like overshield him by like 3 because he might kill a wolf, and then there's an archer in the back you can't target who's hitting the ruffian for 3. So you need to actually shield him for like 5 that turn, which is just not good. And where is he? Hoarder. Hoarder makes me rethink my position on Brigand, actually. Hoarder, I think, is better by Brigand by a factor of like 2. This guy is insanely useful. He just hits constant 2s. Like, yeah, the death side probably is unlockable, but every other side is lockable. The exert side's not great, but every other side here is good. The guilt is fine, the pain is fine. Hoarder's really good. Let's give the Greys a shot. Defender is that him? That's Buckle. Well, since I see him, Buckle's sad. He has a heavy hit that's okay if he hits it, 2 shield is whatever, and most of his power budget seems to be in the shield 2 pristine, which doesn't happen very often. But it's fine when it does. Buckle can enable Ruffian, but preying on this one side thing is not like a good strategy, in my opinion. I also see Ally. My opinion of Ally has changed quite considerably. I thought he was really good, and now I think he's just okay. 4 HP is just quite sad. He's bad at shielding others, but he always can shield himself for 1, which means he's okay. He's one of the better Greys at dealing damage, but he's not very good at keeping you alive. But the 1 shield cleave in the early game is also fine. Yeah, my opinion of Ally has fallen quite considerably. Where can I find a defender? There he is. Let me remind myself of the sides. Yeah, 3, 2, 1, 1, 1. This is okay. It's just okay. He's not great. He's fine. Shield 2 is whatever, which makes me think maybe Buckle is actually not so bad, because he shields 2. But Defend is nice because he can roll a 1 and kill something. Like small. And we have Squire. Squire that's Sorcerer. But there he is. Squire I think is pretty good. I'm really happy to see Squire. This redirect is really good. The focus side's pretty decent. The focus shield is good. It's like Buckle. It's like Buckle Pristine Shield, except it's easily proccable with reds, which we'll get to later. The tier 1 reds and tier 2 reds can easily target an ally, so you can easily get the focus off if you need to. Especially on the first turn. I'm mainly thinking about first turn, because on the first turn you don't get any value out of healing, so on the reds you can target whoever you like. Yeah. And lastly, we have Wallop. Where can I find him? There he is. Wallop is in EP tier. This guy is insane. 5 HP seems a bit low, but he can self-shield himself. He has stuns, which are really good, especially against like slates and things. And he has a Death Defy, which is like a really high value side sometimes. Wallop is a character I can see just keeping for a long time. I can make him my last pick if needs be. Like something like Scoundrel, I'll take a suboptimal character to get off of Scoundrel as early as possible. But with Wallop, he's so good that I don't mind keeping him for a very long time. Okay. The Reds. I see Acolyte first, so let's go for Acolyte. Acolyte is I am okay. She sits here, she generates 1, sometimes she heals 3 vitality. If she hits the vitality side, she's actually pretty good. Other times, generating 1 mana, and the spell is whatever. 1 mana is whatever. I'm not too excited. Gardner, my opinion of Gardner has fallen quite a lot. I thought she was really good, like incredibly strong with Hemlock and the growth, but the more I play her, the more I think that actually, I think she's just okay. It's nice when you do get the growth because then this side becomes really good and this side becomes really good. But some fights you just can't hit the growth, I think. Maybe it's because when I play, I really want to kind of rush down fights. But yeah, I think Gardner's fine, but yeah, I don't think she's the best. Healer is I'm a bit sad when I get healer. She's fine. You can roll her down, which is fine, but she generates you 1 or 2 mana. It's like similar to Acolyte, but Acolyte has the I shall take it back. I'm not happy to see Acolyte. I'm happy like relatively, but Acolyte I'm not happy to see. It's just a bit sad. Uh, Mystic again, very similar. I'm generally displeased with all of the uh, reds. Tier 1, I think they're quite poor. Uh, and then we have the everyone's favorite child, Splint. Great. She generates 3, 2, 1 mana. The heal ones are pretty bad. And the spell is fine. It's like, yeah, it's like a sort of prey. Splint's really good. The tier 1 blues then. Ah, Mage. He's fine. He just generates 2, 1 mana, whatever. Poke. Poke is fine. It's mana efficient in the early game. And you don't need to poke. You don't really have the mana to poke multiple times anyway, so the cooldown's not so much of a problem. I think people might not like Prodigy, but I think he's fine. 3 mana sides are not so hard to hit, and the spell is pretty decent at the early game. 4 HP is scary, but it's doable. Next is Meddler. Meddler is annoying, but I think she's really good, and this spell is really good. Especially you can kill a boar through his stone HP, so it saves you a lot of damage that way. One thing to consider is when she's cantripping bones, you can use the mana to defuse the current threats, because the bones are future threats. You can deal with the bones later. So she basically lets you deal with the problem now, and then lets you stare at like 3 bones, and then you have to deal with the bones. Next is Student. Student can go to hell. Awful and I hate myself. Actually, he's unpickable garbage. You want to get off this guy as soon as possible. He's generating 1 mana with a shield. Good one. Like, for a spell that is awful, and... Okay, he's not unpickable garbage. I just hate him. He's awful and I hate myself. This side is okay sometimes. The spell is good, but he never gets the mana for it, and these sides are whatever. And he has 5 HP, which isn't anything special. You might be thinking, I'll skip ahead a little bit, you might be thinking these 1 mana shield sides look sort of similar to Glacier, but Glacier's different because she has 9 HP, which is very good. Okay, Initiate. Initiate is just a little sad. Just generates like 1 mana a turn, sometimes 2. Yeah, Initiate's a bit sad. It's fine though. And Cultist. 4 5, it looks like a lot of pain, but you can find the resources for it, especially because you can pain and then heal it up with a red, which gives value to these reds that you wouldn't otherwise get. So Cultist is very, very good. You can just generate 4 mana in a turn or 3 mana in a turn. This cut spell is very, very good. 3 damage to an ally and 2 damage to the topmost enemy. It also gives you reach on archers. Cultist is excellent. I'm sure nobody's surprised by that. I think everyone thinks Cultist is very good. And here we are. The freaks. Greens are just like... personally, I would say if you're trying to win streak, you shouldn't pick greens at all. So my rating greens will be quite low, but I think I will try and judge them relatively, because I consider them in this separate category of the greens are like a... Sorry. The greens are like a for fun class. So we'll start with the reflection maybe. Reflection is actually fine. 1 damage inflict plain single use, and these echoes, and a Thrike. Thrike is pretty good. 2 HP is scary, obviously, but it also means you can just let him die and he goes to 1 HP. And there's not much difference between 1 and 2 HP. Reflection is fine. Where's Tinder? Here he is. Tinder's good. I think Tinder's really good, relatively speaking. You just keep throwing him at the enemies. He deals 2 damage. He dies. He deals 1 to all enemies. He's fine. House Cat is unpickable garbage. I know you can't pick them, but their whole thing is their sides or whatever. They're okay in the early game, and they can't level up. So what this means is you get your hero levels up faster, and then if you've picked every level up, you okay, it's not unpickable actually. It's awful. If you get every level up, then you get offered 1 or 2 generates, I think. 2 generates, yes. The problem is generates suck, and are nearly always unpickable. And the reason Housecat is not in the lowest tier is that what she actually lets you do, I think, is the Housecat lets you skip character rewards, which is something you can't normally do, or you don't want to normally do, I think. And they let you skip character rewards where it's like 2 pretty mediocre or 2 bad choices. Especially if you have items. If you want to force something with a Housecat, you can force whatever you like. You know, if you want to force your blue to be Sorcerer at the beginning of the run and you know this, then you can force Sorcerer with Housecat, because you'll see 2. Or you'll see over the course of the run, I believe. I think with Housecat you can force it to be. Yeah, I think you can force Sorcerer if you want to. I think you can pick any color and any particular tier 3, and you're guaranteed to get it with the Housecat. It'll just take you some time. Okay. What's next? We have Primrose. Primrose, I think, is a character that is just a bit sad. Their whole thing is about these Gruth sides, but it's not very good. For the same reason, I think Gardener's not very good. Except Gardener can actually do things. This spell is useless. A keyword side and a blank side for a boost. Yeah, good one. Spade is actually really good. He just doesn't let you lose. He's constantly revived. 7 HP is really good, and just heals you up if you don't need to revive. He's fine. And Pockets is also happy to see a Pockets. Where is he? Pockets is there he is. He's fine. When you start with him, you get a tier 1 item and 2 junk items. The junk items are nearly always junk, so you get a random tier 1. This wand is really good. The Fierce wand, it does kind of 4 damage. Exerts is fine, and the other sides are not very good. Okay, back to normal colors. Juggler. Oh yes, I love Juggler. I think I pick her a lot, as you can see, because I just think you roll her down. She normally does 4 damage a turn. Yeah, for me she normally does 3 to 4 damage a turn, which is on Berserker levels of damage. The only problem is you can't aim it, but I think that's not such a problem. Rogue, in a very similar vein, I think is fine. I've been cooling on Rogue quite a lot. I used to think she was very good. Now I think she is fine. I think if she had a couple more cantrip sides, like 1 more cantrip side, I might like her more. But I think her damage, I think when I pick Rogue, I'm expecting her to do juggler damage, and she just doesn't. She does slightly under juggler damage, so I'm always a little bit underwhelmed by Rogue. Despite that, I do think she's really good. Trapper as a character, in my opinion, has changed on quite a lot. I used to think Trapper was really good. Now I think she's a little bit sad. I think the problem with Trapper, it's nice that she has lots of HP. Where can I find a Trapper? Really? Where's Trapper? There she is, sorry. Although she has 8 HP, this side can sometimes do nothing, although it can sometimes do a lot. and this side can often do nothing, and sometimes she can just roll like dodge X dodge, and then you're really sad. Not that the other characters can't miss, but yeah, I'm just a little bit sad when I have to pick a trapper. Despite that, I think she's okay. It just feels really bad. I don't think you can roll down. If you could roll down for the foresight more, it would be better. This foresight's really good. The one damage balance are oftentimes for me, I don't think they're very strong. Spellblade, I think, is okay. Uh, she generates you mana. I think you pick Spellblade if your tier 2 blue wants mana. Something like a Sparky, but we'll get to that later. They're fine, and sometimes the copycat is even okay. I think they're just fine. I think I would put Trapper up here actually. I think she's not sad. I think she's just fine. Ranger is a character that I think is pretty mediocre, but sometimes you just pick a Ranger because she shows up and the other option is awful. And when you pick her, she's fine. When she hits this side, it's really good, but it's kind of bad oftentimes after the first turn because you might be doing the cleave damage. She doesn't do much damage is the problem, but 7 HP is 7 HP. Ninja. Ninja is a character that's a bit situational, but I think half the time she can be pretty useless. Like these are just 1 damage sides. If you have a Berserker, these are bad. If you have a Juggler, they're fine. This character's okay, but sometimes they can be quite sad. If you have a Knight, you can steal the damage. Yeah, I think she has potential to be quite sad. Dabbler, again, you're not blown away when you see a Dabbler, but I think you are fine. Like, 2 mana, 4 mana, decent, like, whatever damage. 9 HP is mainly their strength. They just take a pounding. And Gambler. Yeah, you can see by the pick rate. I think I randomed into them one time. Gambler is unpickable garbage. What is the point? 1 or 2 damage? Very meaningless. It's fighter levels of damage. And a 5. Yay, a 5. You're never hitting that 5. It's never happening to you, and you can't roll down for the 5 either because you have 3 X's, so you might be sitting there settling on a 1 or a 2, in which case Gambler is next to useless. Great. The yellows. The yellows are kind of stacked. Scrapper is your P tier. This guy's crazy good. You have steel. If you have a good shielding gray, you can go for the steel line. But even if you don't, you can. Oftentimes the bloodlust sides are very, very excellent. You can see I pick Scrapper a lot. Berserker, I think he's pretty good. 4 damage is pretty great. 3 damage, he's just good. Oftentimes you can find yourself being able to blow through fights very quickly before the pain really becomes an issue. So I think Berserker's fine. Soldier hits 3s, 2s. He's fine. Soldier is the definition of okay. He hits 2s, 3s most of the time. And that's just fine. Sinew, I think for much the reason that I think Brigand is really good, I'm very happy to pick a Sinew. 4 damage Exert just gets the job done. It just blows something out of the water really fast, and then he takes the next turn off, so what? You killed an enemy. So the threats to you are way lower. Brute, I used to like this guy a lot. Now I think with these 3 damage heavies, he's a bit clunky. So I think he's just fine. Yeah. Gladiator, I used to hate this guy. I think he's okay now. I think he's just a bit sad. You oftentimes don't get value on the engaged sides, and this side, even if you are getting a value on it, is just this same damage as his 2 damage self shield. So I think my mistake when I played Gladiator the first time is I was focusing too much on the 2 damage engage, when really I should just be locking these 2 damage self shields. They're pretty fine sides. They're the same as Brute sides, and I think they're fine on Brute, so I just required a mental refactoring to start locking those. Oh, here we are. Collector. Sometimes you have to pick him, because the other option is just too bad. But this guy nearly killed me twice, because he just does no damage. Look at him. 2 damage, 1 damage. Uh, The focus is doing a 2. Duplicate side is mostly awful. This very rarely does a 4. You're not really going to hit this more than twice. Like, bloody awful. Well, again, for much the same reason, 1 to walls are pretty useless, I think. Like cleave damage. Low amounts of cleave damage I think are pretty useless. 3 damage is nice. And 1 shield cleave I think is just not what you want out of your yellow at stage 2. I think in your tier 2 yellow pick really wants to be someone who can sort of push the envelope, and Whirl does nothing. Uh, I wouldn't put him in unpickable garbage, because I don't think he's that bad, but I do think he is pretty awful. Cool. Let's start the Graze off strong with a Knight. Knight is wonderful. I'm so glad to pick Knight every time. 3 shield steal, 3 damage exert, all wonderful sides. The 2 X's suck. Even with just this, I think he'd be great, but with a parry on top of it, wow, wow, wow. Knight can put up incredible shielding out of nothing. And he also has the potential just to hit a 3, which is good. Warden is, Mr. Normal. I'd probably even be happy to pick on Warden. He just shields pretty decent. Sometimes he can do damage. It's fine. Guardian is okay. Yeah, I was thinking about putting him in sad tier. I think he's just okay. I wouldn't put him in sad tier. Like the shielding is good. Guardian's really good with Scrapper, I think. Decent with Berserker. I think he's okay, but having these 2 X's is quite scary because sometimes it means you need to lock cleave, I think, or lock the shield cleave. So that's a bit bad. Monk, despite what my pick rate looks like, I think Monk's actually fine. Monk is another character that my opinion has changed on quite a lot. I used to think he was really bad because this wouldn't be very good, but I think what I've come to realize is this side is actually fine, especially because he has 9 HP. So Monk can just sit there and get punched in the face over and over again, and he's just fine. He just stays alive and keeps your other guys alive, which is fine. Cleric is someone that I thought was really, really good when I started. I would constantly pick Cleric, and since then, I thought to myself, this guy sucks. He does basically 2 damage. 2 mana at this stage of the game, I think, does not get converted very readily into big spells. Maybe you have a tier 3 blue, but for now it's mostly just like a burst, which is not great. Sometimes it's good with like a Caldera or something. The spell is pretty decent. But I think Cleric's a bit lackluster, so I'm pretty sad to pick Cleric. Pilgrim. I don't pick him very much, but I think he's fine. There was one run I played with Bandana Pilgrim that was really good, actually, and I kept Pilgrim at the end. I skipped my tier 3 Grey for him. I think Pilgrim is fine. The problem is I think oftentimes his self-shield sides don't get much value. But I think he's okay. And Bard. This guy is useless. Shield 1 cleanse on a blank side. If you're rolling X's, you're already losing. You can't roll this. This is like a it isn't else. It's everything has gone badly, and maybe this can take you out of a bad spot. This is nothing. This is pretty good. Cantrip damage is whatever, like 1 damage, and shield 1 to all allies. Most of the time, I think is not what you want. I think most of the time the damage is more localized than spread out. So I think Bard is. Where are you, Bard? Come here. I think Bard is awful, and I hate myself when I'm playing him. Similarly with Armorer, I think the Smith sides very often don't do anything, because what you want to Smith, or what you want the +1s on, is something like a Juggler, but Smith doesn't work in the rolling phase, so you don't really get much meaning out of the +1s. There is some like Armorer Whirl combo, where you can buff the AoE damage, but I think Armorer is pretty sad. Although I have been taking him more recently, but I do think he's quite sad. Okay. Uh, Herbalist. Herbalist is good. 2 mana, 2 mana. The regen doesn't really matter so much. Poison is sometimes fine, this growth side is awful, and the vine is really, really good. It makes you be very efficient with mana, it also lets you get through slates and stuff very, very quickly. I'm happy to see a herbalist. Disciple, also very happy to see. Generates 2 mana, glow is okay, it's kinda bad, and the heal 2 W's can oftentimes be very useful with some items. Druid, again, generates 2 mana. You'll see a trend of the guys who can generate 2 mana I will put higher. Balance, I think you don't get to cast too much, but in the occasional fights where balance matters, it's good. Otherwise, she just generates 2 mana half the time, or she does something sort of useful. So Druid is pretty decent. Where is she? There she is. Happy. Oh, what's this? Another red that generates 2 mana. Vampire keeps herself alive very well, and Infuse can sustain your whole team. You know, through a troll fight, all that sort of stuff. Vampire's really good. I'm not really rating them from left to right so much. It's mainly just in their brackets. I'm always happy to click on a vampire. Priestess. I've been respecting Priestess more lately. I found it hard to respect it because he just doesn't generate much mana, but the heal for Vitality is pretty good if you have like a Berserker. It's pretty good if you just need to keep yourself alive. But I don't like the fact that it's really hard for her to do damage, but Prey is really good. For that sort of reason, I'll put Priestess in okay tier. She keeps you alive, but I don't think she does much spectacular stuff. Medic, a character I picked very often at the beginning, and since stopped. I don't think she's bad. I think I just got offered, I think I just changed how I thought, and sort of greeded for a better tier 2 red. Renew is pretty decent actually, 1 mana for kind of 3 health often. Heal cleaves are okay, heal 2 regions okay, heal 2 mana is good. The problem is the 2 X's. But I honestly think she's okay. Here we are, Faye. Heal 1 mana gain, pretty useless, pretty bad. 1 damage weaken most of the time does nothing useful, and heal 1 boost most of the time does nothing useful. Circle is whatever, it's fine. Can only be cast once per fight, I didn't even know that. Shows how much I play Faye. And on top of that, 5 HP, which I believe is the lowest out of any tier 2 red, by at least 1 point. The closest is Enchanter, and we'll find out what I think about Enchanter later. Yeah. Here we have Faye. Awful, and I hate myself. Sorry, I nearly put it in I'm a bit sad. She nearly mind controlled me. No, Faye is bloody awful. This unit sucks. I hate it. And here we are. One of our first non-oranges unpickables, Enchanter. Enchanter is absolutely horrible. It's horrific how bad this character is. Oh, self-heal and shield most of the time doesn't matter. Or you only get half of the value, the self-shield. And engage the target sides this turn. Most of the time doesn't matter. This side, really, really good. You're not hitting it though. 2 X's and a spell that is pretty useless. Yeah, to play 2 mana to swap each side. First of all, the mental load on this spell is humongous. Not only do I not want to think about it, I think it's actually really hard to think about it. Because you have to constantly keep checking your dice to see what the opposite side is if you don't memorize all the dice side or if the dice has duplicate sides. And second of all, you're paying 2 mana for like X prevention when you could just have a good red. Yeah, this guy sucks. It's one of the reasons that randoming on tier 2 is so hard. Unless you've seen them already. Cool. Tier 2 blues. Here we go. Caldera is okay. He's 6 HP, which is quite scary, but he generates 2 manas. 3 damage cruel is pretty decent sometimes. these sides are fine, and the spell is pretty good, as long as you have the mana for it, which is a case to take something like a Spell Blade, like I said earlier. Yeah, Caldero's fine. Fiend. I've been getting a lot more respect for Fiend recently. I used to think he was very bad. I think Burn is actually fine, and these Pain mana gens, you know, it's funny, they're sort of worse than Cultist, but it's still fine. And the 2 damage heal ones are actually fine. And you can I think about this cantrip like a 2 mana side, where I don't reroll it. If I hit the mana cantrip side, I just lock it. I lock the 2 mana. Which makes me think Fiend is fine. Glacier, 9 HP. First, I'll put her on the list and then I'll explain. 9 HP, very good. This side, sort of okay. 2 mana, very good. These sides, whatever. 1 mana is pretty bad. 2 damage weaken is sometimes excellent. Glacier is very, very good defensively, but I think if your team already doesn't have much damage, like you have a collector for some reason, like I did one run, you should not pick Glacier. Glacier Collector nearly murdered me because we just spent so long in fights because we just couldn't do any damage. But I think as long as your team has damage, Glacier's good. She sits there, takes a beating, weakens, it's great. Sparky is a character my opinion has been all over the place. Of course, if he keeps hitting this 2 damage mana gain side, he's good. But if you don't have much mana, if you don't have good mana generation, he's not very good. You know, if you have a priestess, you're getting, you know, probably 0 to 1 damage out of this charge side on the first turn. So it's just... He's a bit conditional, I think, Sparky, on what the rest of your party is. Well, I'm sort of rating the characters holistically on how pickable they are and how often they're pickable. That's the same thing, really, but it's not really what I meant to say. You know, how pickable the characters are, and what I meant is how much work you have to do to make them good. I think Sparky makes him a little bit sad, because you have to do a bit of work to make Sparky good, I think. Maiko, I don't like when I click this character. 3-2-1 mana decays, they're good, but like only the 3 mana decay is good. This stuff is really bad. The Spore is sometimes good to kill us a Quartz or a zombie or something, but I don't think anyone's happy to click on Maiko. So I'm a bit sad. Jester, here we are. Jester sucks. He's really awful. 1 damage engage, yeah, great in the first turn. It's a 1 mana burst, wonderful. 1 mana single use ones, absolutely abysmal. This side good, this side really good. A dodge and an X. He doesn't hit his 3 mana very often. Jester sucks, and I hate him, and I hope he knows that. It's actually awful. Seer, I don't pick him very often, but Seer is good, I think, if you're a team that can just sit there and sit there defensively, and build up mana with Portel. The reason I don't pick Seer is because I don't like to go for defensive plans, where you just sit there and survive. Because I think what happens is eventually you get rolled into, like, you know, a bunch of fanatics, and they max roll you, and they all hit the same guy, and one of your guys is sitting on +10, and there's no way you're defending through that. And you're saying, yippee, I turn 3 mana into 4 mana for next turn. Like, okay, sure. I don't think Seer is awful, but I think he's very scary to pick. Here we have Evoker. Wow, this guy. 3/2/1 mana and 3 X's, and a 3 mana spell, 4 damage to most enemy. If you have mana, this guy's good. The problem is, you almost never have mana with Evoker, and his spell is sometimes excellent or sometimes really useless because it's not on the right target. And therefore, I would say Evoker is an awful, and I hate myself. I despise this character, and I think his spell is only sometimes good. Okay. Onto the freaks. Spine. Spine is okay. He has 8 HP, which is great. Cantrip 2s, can kind of cantrip the enemy for 1, sort of. Like, he returns damage. It's, like, fine. Presence. I hate this guy. I think Presence is uh, quite bad, but it might just be because all the greens are quite bad. The Ghost HP is whatever. These sides oftentimes don't mean much. Uh, yeah, this guy sucks, and I hate him. Mimic. Great. I love Mimic. Uh, I have a few more games on these greens played than it actually looks like. I played some offline and they didn't update onto the cloud, I believe. But Mimic is good. Because the reason Mimic's good is because he breaks out of the greens and starts being an actually good character from another color. What he does is he replaces his sides with base sides from other heroes. So, he'll take a side from your red, blue, whatever. So that in that way he's fine. Sphere, uh, 10 HP, uh, 2 reroll sides, a stun, and slam. 4 damage heavy, consumes 2 1 keyword side, just means the reroll sides can be consumed in that. Sphere is good. He lets you hit the sides. The spell is good, and sometimes you can just stun out enemies permanently with Sphere. Coffin. I think this guy's not very good, because you lose some tier 3s, because when you pick him you get a tier 0, which means have your next upgrade becomes a tier 1, so I think you miss out on 3 tier 3s. So I think Coffin's pretty bad. I don't think he's awful, but I do think he's quite sad. Granis is fine. But I think he's just okay. The Stone HP's nice. He starts with 3 HP, 3 red HP, and then 2 Stone HP as his last, so he can eat a lot of hits. He can like survive. If 2 ghosts target him, he just lives it on 1 HP. Oh, sorry, he dies slightly, but okay. If like 2 big hits hit him for like if he gets hit for like 3 and then a 7, he lives on 1 HP, so he can survive quite a lot. He's fine. This guy, bloody awful. 2 cleanse, no shield, no heal or anything. 5 shield, 2 cleanse, just 3 damage, and then he has this spell, kill all enemies with 2 or less HP. Yeah, good luck doing any damage to enemies, and it consumes 1 blank and 2 damage pips. The only good thing about Alien is that he has 8 HP, but this guy is bloody awful. He's like a statue with less HP. Alien goes in unpickable garbage. Statue, you either have a statue angle or you don't, which is the problem with rating this character. Like, you need items for her, obviously. Their strength is that they have 20 HP. But if you don't have items for statue, she is useless. 6 X's. She's close to useless. She can eat heavy hits, but I think statue goes in unpickable garbage. Because I think you can't random because of statue's existence and aliens. If you don't have good items for it. Okay, let's go back on ourselves. Dancer here. Dancer's whatever. I pick her a lot because she just kind of is whatever. She has the reroll set, which I think is quite good as a support character. Lets you hit your other sides better. The 1 cantrips whatever. This side is, 4 damage is whatever. She's just kind of a very meh character. She sits there and she's okay. So she goes in okay tier. Oh, sorry, not Ranger. Agent. Agent is pretty good. She hits 4s. 3 like sort of weird 3s. That are most of the time 3s or 6s, I think, in my experience. And she only needs a little bit of work to make these 4 damage sides pretty good. So I would say I'm happy to pick Agent. Venom, another character that is quite self-sufficient. She hits a couple of these on a boss, she then plagues them. Venom's a boss killer type of character. And the range keeps a bit into Hexia. Venom's fine. Like, she has nothing spectacular, but if you need to pick an orange, if you get offered Venom, I won't say his name, but Venom in a particular blue, you can pick Venom and feel pretty okay about it. So she goes an okay tier. Sharpshot. Here he is. I pick Sharpshot a lot. Once again, I think lots of the tier 3 oranges are just fine, and Sharpshot is an example of a character that is just fine. This side can do a lot of damage sometimes. This 6 kill is pretty decent, and the 3 bows are sort of underwhelming. But you can roll pretty safely on Sharpshot for a good side because he has five sides. So maybe most people wouldn't think so, but I'm happy with the Sharpshot. He's just good. He's not spectacular. I don't think Sharpshot carries your run very often, or maybe at all, especially because his strength's in Copycat, which is based on someone else. But he's fine. Dabless 3s, 4s, a bit like Veteran, but missing a 4. 4 turns into a 3 mana, and then some stuff here. I think Dabless is okay. She doesn't do anything, really, but she doesn't do anything badly. She has 9 HP, which is nice. Not much to say about Dabless. She's very vanilla. She holds simplicity well, I guess. Assassin is maybe better than I think she is. I don't pick her very often because she just doesn't scream to me as having much carry potential, but maybe that's wrong. Maybe you're not looking for carry potential here. You're just looking for something fine, and this is fine. 4 Cruel can be very good, 2 Poison is pretty decent. The engaged sides are fine. I think Assassin's a bit sad though. Because at least Dancer, she has some support potential. I think Assassin's selfish and doesn't do much. Very much the same with Fencer. She's even more selfish in that she has a pristine side here. I would even go far to put Fencer in awful. She has a pristine side which demands a lot of attention, and sometimes it's unsavable if she gets poisoned and you don't have cleanse for it. Which is where most of her power budget is, I think, is in this pristine side. And otherwise she's pretty whatever. Roulette is a very hard one to rate. I think if you have a left side replacer for the sticky mandatory death, then she's good because you can cover it up. If you don't, you cannot pick her and you will lose the game if you do. Yeah. That's all I have to say about Roulette. Get a left side replacer early. I value it a lot. Picking something that replaces the left side if it's nothing important, just so I have the option of picking Roulette later in the run. Because left side replacers are quite common, I would put Roulette down in awful, but it should be known that she's not awful when you have her. She's not awful in a Roulette spot. She's just kind of very hard to pick. Yeah. And Ludus, 6 HP. I don't take him very often. Yeah. The whole thing is that there are dice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ludus is not very good. 6 HP is not great, but I don't think they're as bad as Fencer. Yeah, I don't think they're as bad as Fencer. Just because Fencer doesn't do any damage. Ludus could at least do damage and then get blown up. Although Fencer has 9 HP, I think it just doesn't matter. Okay, here we get some good stuff. Curator. Curator is very, very good. Oftentimes, when you play Curator, you're playing for this charge side, but even if you don't have a good charge setup, he still has pretty decent sides. But I think most of the time when you click Curator, you're playing for charge. Something of note is Curator can only show up in teams with mana, so he doesn't lose much value on Force because you can't play him on Force or other manaless teams. Wanderer. This guy's great. These sides can sometimes do something. She'll do Copycat. Era is like, he's always has these Era sides, so they're always useful. And Defy can sometimes just whack something for 12 or whatever. So, Wanderer's excellent. I would probably put Wanderer in your P tier. I'm always really happy to see a Wanderer. Brawler is good. He's fine. Like, 2 Rampage is fine. 3 Steel is fine. The problem with playing Brawler for the Steel side is it's only one side, so you're not likely to hit the Steel side. You could just miss it and die. So, Brawler's a little bit scary if you're trying to play with Steel, but I think he's fine otherwise. Barb is a character my opinions are quite volatile about. Sometimes I think he's really good, and sometimes I think he's really bad. Obviously, if you get an item for him that nullifies the pain, he's really good. But I think if you're missing that sort of item, which you can often miss, it's not guaranteed you get a pain canceller. It's not even close to guaranteed. It's pretty unlikely, I think. Then Barbarian can be quite a liability because he burns out very quickly. But sometimes what you can do is you throw an 8 damage pain on, and then next turn he rolls 10 damage death, and he just dies dealing 18 damage and tanking some hits, and he's fine. Maybe most people would rate him higher than this. I'm a bit scared of Barbarian burning out too fast, so I'd just put him in OK tier. Yeah, Veteran. 3s and 4s, whatever. You click on Veteran to avoid some sort of horror, but he's sad. Bash. Again, a little bit sad. I've had a few successful runs with Bash Dragonhide where you duplicate the steel and he becomes what Brawler wanted to be, with steel carry. Otherwise he just hits 5s, 7s, whatever. He's fine. He's not spectacular. I'm a bit sad. Leader is a character I really hated at the beginning and I would always skip over him, but recently I've gained a lot of respect for Leader and I actually think Leader is pretty good. This side is really good, the reuse. 2 Smith I think is whatever. This side is the same as like a veteran, like a weak veteran side, and 2 damage duplicate is actually fine. I think most of this strength in Leader lies from you can just kind of roll him down all the time for his reuse. And sometimes the duplicate's alright, and sometimes the Smith is alright. And most of the time when you roll down, you're gonna hit something. I think Leader's fine. I used to think he was unpickable garbage, but I think he's actually fine. Captain. I don't respect Captain at all. He has this tactic, 3 damage pips and 3 shield pips for kind of 2 to wall and then shield 2. It's okay. I don't like thinking about Captain. I think it's a lot of work to make formation work, and out of my yellow I really want someone who can carry, which is also why I'm sad to click on Veteran. I don't think Captain's bad. I think I'm just sad thinking about him. Despite the pick rates, I don't think he's actually bad, I just don't want to pick him. Eccentric. Eccentric, much like Roulette, is either awful or fine, I think. I recently talked to some people about Eccentric and they kind of changed my mind. He does have 3 sides, so he can't just hit 4s. So he's similar to Veteran in that respect, where I think I should give him maybe a bit more respect, but 8 HP is not great. So I would put Veteran in, Eccentric in awful tier. There are spots where he can carry, but I think most of the time Veteran is just not very good. Cool. Onto these guys. Poet. I like Poet. I like playing mana plans quite a lot. Poet is really good with mana, the charged sides. I think Poet's good. I'm happy to see Poet. Keeper. Steel plans. Keeper can put up a lot of steel. And the shield 2 repels or whatever. This side's pretty old. He kind of is similar to Knight. Kind of has 2 X's. The shield 5 steel is really good though, and shield 2 repel can oftentimes be fine. My opinion of Keeper has fallen quite a lot, I think. But despite that, I still think I'm happy to see a Keeper. Stoic. I used to think this guy was really awful. Now I think he's pretty decent. He can eat a lot of damage and save a lot of your characters from death. Do I think he's great into a lot of the bosses at the end? No. I don't think he's great. Do I think he's fine into a lot of them? Yeah. I think he's really good in the hallway fights beforehand if you have a weak party. He can just sit there and take it. Or stun like a... He can stun really big enemies. He can stun out a troll from the beginning. So, I think Stoic is pretty okay. I'm not excited to see him, but if I had to take him, I'll be fine. Valk. I'm surprised I picked her this much, but I think Valk's pretty awful. What does she do on the first turn? Shields for 2 if you don't have anyone dying like that much? Or rolls a 4, sometimes an 8. Yeah, great. Most of the time you aren't going to get much value out of Death Defy in the first turn, and Revive's obviously useless. The problem with Valk is just she does nothing on the first turn, and I want to get ahead on the first turn, so I'm a bit sad when I click on Valk. Stalwart. I've been having a resurgence of Stalwart in my life. I think Stalwart's a lot better than I thought he was. Shield 3 Cleanse is very good. He hits it very often. Shield 2 Cleave is whatever, and can often be improved with items. And these sides are whatever. Sometimes even the 5 Exerts is fine. Stalwart's like the knight grew up. Stalwart's fine. And Paladin, I think this guy sucks. The 4 damage heavy hits I think are basically useless. Heal Shield 3 I think is close to useless. It's like a Shield 3 side. And 4 Cleanse is very good, but it's only one side. So I would put Paladin in I'm sad. And here we are. The man of the hour, Prince. 0 out of 34. Shield 3 duplicate. No one cares. Really bad. Heal and Shield 3. Really bad. As we saw on Paladin. 3 damage Inspire. Wow. He can sometimes hit a 6. Great. That's what I want out of my Grey. I want him to hit a 6 sometimes. Wonderful. Okay, he'll probably most of the time hit a 6. But do I want my Grey to be hitting a 6 on a one side? Not really. That is not really great. One side can hit a 6. And even this is his thing. 1 damage pip, 1 shield pip, 1 heal pip, and 1 blank side. Most of the time, this comes in 3 dice. 3 or 4 dice. Wow. I mean, it comes in at least 2 dice. But it's probably 3 dice. Or 4. This spell sucks. 15 damage? Yeah. Okay, have you heard of Warlock? This guy is unpickable garbage. And is one of the reasons you can't random tier 3s if you haven't seen Prince already. So where are you, brother? Get in there. Cool. The reds are stacked. Let's start with Surgeon. 24 up to 25. I think that tells you all you need to know about Surgeon. Surgeon is wonderful. The mana gains are in great sides. It's 2 mana gain. The spell, very good. The rest of her sides she can't X out, so you can roll her down if you like. And the other sides can sometimes be very good. She has very great synergy with Botany, which is a notable one. And she's just pretty good. She's a good wedding ring holder, good focus holder. Wonderful. Fate, again, very good. Heal and Shield 2, a bit more proactively good. Heal 2 Spell Rescue, oftentimes very good. These sides, not great, but they can... I think you lock them in a pinch. And the dodge is sometimes fine. Fates also, very good. Maybe not in your P tier. Maybe in your P tier. I think the tier 3 reds are stacked. Doctor, heal 2 mana gains in a bit of a worse position, I think. Liquor is sometimes what you want, but sometimes not. I think a lot of the final bosses, the threat comes with AoE poison, and Doctor doesn't deal with AoE poison so well, but he does generate mana, and he can save someone. You know, Hexia 4 petrifies someone, Doctor just keeps them up. Not to say Doctor's bad, but I don't think he quite touches Surgeon of Fate for me. Prophet. 2 mana, generations, 5 vitality, heal to rescue. The problem with Prophet, is I think the spell is not very good for what I want to be doing. I want to be killing everyone. So if I have to spend 4 mana on healing 1 or heal 1 regen to all allies, I think I'm not making great use of my mana. So for that reason, I'd say Prophet is just okay. Not like she's bad, I think she's just fine. Witch. The sides don't look all that great. 1 boost, 1 weaken. The reason I hated Faye for these sides. 5 cleanse is fine. This is okay. This is pretty good. The reason I think Witch is okay is that her spell is very, very good. 1 mana to heal 2 is excellent. It's like the best defensive rate spell of all time. The only problem is it's a heal and not a shield, but still. Salve is very, very good. So I put Witch in OK tier. Forsaken. Here we get into more harder to assess characters. Forsaken's a very different red, where these guys try to, support the team quite a lot. Forsaken says, I'm alive, baby. She's healing herself for 3. She doesn't hit the mana very often, but Bind is where her power comes. Turns out, becoming immune to damage this turn is very, very good. Yeah, what more do you need me to say? You just become immune to damage. Forsaken can kind of nullify Hexia. You can bind out of most of her damage You can bind your blue, your bottom target, bind your yellow who's hitting into her for like a billion. Forsaken's like okay. I think she's better than people think she is. I think people don't like her at all. I think she's fine. Shaman is a character I don't respect very much, but because she just doesn't generate much mana. But much in the same way as Forsaken, I think Shaman's also fine. These sides are fine. The heal 10 is often quite bad. Vitality is fine. Mana gain is fine. Even these sides are okay. And the spell is very good. Shaman's most of her power, I think, is in this spell. Heal 2, Cleanse, Cleave. Lots of bosses will put out this poison on you, and you just get it all off, and it's just wonderful. So I think Shaman is a little bit sad. Probably Forsaken's a little bit sad, but I don't think they're bad by any means. Wraith. 2 mana, 2 mana. 4 damage self-heal. This side's useless, and a cantrip dodge. And a leech. Kill an ally and then heal 5 to all allies. I think leech is close to being useless. I think if you're killing an ally, you might have already lost. If you're killing an ally to heal, if it was like kill an ally to gain 5 mana, I would get it, because it would give you damage. Kill an ally to heal seems like one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's not very good at all, and therefore I think Wraith is pretty bad. I'd probably put it in awful. I don't like Wraith at all. Okay, nearly done. Sorcerer. Sorcerer is a bit weird. I think it matters when you see the Sorcerer. I think if you first pick a Sorcerer, he's very good, because you can oftentimes find items to make him good. I think if you're kind of halfway through your leveling up, I think Sorcerer gets a little worse if you don't already have items that are good for him, because your time to find good items for him are worse. Is lower, sorry. But I still think he's really good. Sorcerer has a lot of items to just send him to the moon. And therefore I'd put him in, I'd probably put him in Yippee tier. I'm very, very happy to see Sorcerer. And also he crushes the hand, which is wonderful, because a +1 to Sorcerer is worth so much. Warlock. I like Warlock. His spell is very good. I just find it hard to keep Warlock alive sometimes, because 4 mana pain is a lot of damage. But I do think he's really good. I don't think he has many synergies with items, though, is sort of the issue. He can get the Tiara for self-heal on the mana sides, in which case he's excellent, but he doesn't have too many item synergies. Wizard. He's good. He's more of a support character, I think, but he has a lot of items that make him good. Base Wizard is pretty bad, though. So again, Wizard is much like Sorcerer, and when you pick him, you have to know he's good or have the time to make him good. But he's Wizard's good when he's good, you know? So I'm happy to see a Wizard. Actually, no, I'm okay to see a Wizard. I thought about what I think about. I thought about what I feel when I see them. I'm just okay to see a Wizard, unless he's like in a really good spot. Because most of the time, like half of the time, the things that makes Wizard good is a +1. But if I see a +1 on Wizard, I'd much rather get a +1 on the Sorcerer. Yeah. So like I might settle for a Wizard and be a bit sad. Weaver is like Weaver needs mana, so you don't want to pick Weaver with something like a Forsaken Witch, Shaman, Wraith. So some of the time we'll be forced into taking those reds, and then Weaver becomes quite bad. But Weaver's good. The spell is very mana efficient. In hallway fights especially. This charge side can do crazy things. I think Weaver is good, despite me not picking that much. I'm happy to see a Weaver. Kronos. I had a talk with some people, they disagreed with me. I think Kronos is bloody awful. What is the point? This side's I think he's a good support character, but I really want some more out of my blue than this. 2 mana growth? Yeah, great. On turn 2 I can maybe generate 3 mana. Wonderful. Target hero can use their dice again, pretty good. As long as you have a blue carry. If you have a veteran or something, this dice is not very good. And this. 4 mana, 1 damage, weaken, cleave. I think this is very excellent in hallway fights, but in terms of killing a final boss, I think this side sucks. It's okay into Dragon. It's pretty decent into Hexia because you can cancel the summons. But if she just sits there hitting the Descend Pain on you, it doesn't do much at all, and the Kronos takes 4 damage for it. Into the hand, if he hits in the hand it does pretty much nothing. you lower his damage by 5 kind of every time you hit him because hand oftentimes hit your entire team. It also does nothing into the hand's execute. I think, and this may upset people, Kronos is bloody awful, and I hate seeing him, and I despise him. Great. It's just I'm looking for damage out of my blue. Damage or real support, like Wizard has real support, like, if my yellow's cracked, Wizard lets him go again. Kronos just kind of keeps everyone alive, which I don't like. I want to kill things. Ghast. 2 damage weaken, the spell's pretty good. And a 5 death is his whole thing. I think Ghast is actually just awful. I don't think he's unpickable, despite the fact that he wants to kill himself every fight. This guy's fine. Not fine, he's pretty awful, but I think he's not as bad as people think he is. Yeah, there's not much to say about him. He doesn't have many item synergies. You can sometimes death defy it, but I think it's oftentimes... You don't want to be planning to death defy Ghast, because it's unlikely you even... It's not that likely you even hit the death side. But he's not the worst. This guy, Ace, I think I picked him one time because it was the angle. His whole thing is hitting this 1 3-mana trio side, this 2-mana pair side's awful. 3-mana trio side with this target ally 1 boost deplete to kind of make the trio easier to hit. And then you generate 9 mana, or sometimes, if you have 4 here, then you can generate, with 4 trio, you can generate 12 mana, and then burst someone. Wow. Unpickable. Even the best payout of Ace is mediocre at best. You'd much rather have a Warlock. Okay, the best payout of Ace is like fine. It's like, great, I did all this legwork for a payout that was acceptable. This guy sucks, and without any synergy, he sucks, and with certain comps already, he sucks. You can't pick Ace, he's one of the reasons you can't random. And finally, Artificer. I despise this guy. 4 mana, again I'm looking for damage to kill bosses here. And most of the time for bosses, I just want to blow the boss up. I'm not trying to go after the ads too much. So this spell doesn't get much value. Do I think Artificer is awful? Yeah, I do. This side is pretty bad. This side's basically an X. This side's pretty useless. It kind of can hit for 4 damage quite often. Or maybe 6, yeah. And this side's pretty awful. If you have a stasis, maybe Artificer is better. But right now, default Artificer, pretty bad, and it takes pretty much only stasis, I think, makes him significantly better. So there aren't that many items to hit, so Artificer is awful. I think the blues are quite polarized in their power. I think they have some of the best units and some of the worst units. Finally, these guys. Luggage. He's basically all X's, but he gives you 3 items. Luggage is okay. You pick him, sometimes you high roll, sometimes you low roll, whatever. The greens are so useless that you don't even mind this guy being useless because you're just used to it when you have greens. Vessel, unpickable garbage. You might be thinking, why is this guy unpickable? 5 damage death, 5 shield, 5 cleanse. It's not great, and you get a blessing. Yay, a blessing! A free random blessing. The problem is, your blessing can be something like level up your middle once, and you turn your Wanderer carry into a tier 4 generate. And tier 4 generates in general are really awful. So Vessel has a chance of just blowing up your run out of your control as soon as you click on him. So you can't click on him or random into Vessel if you want to keep a streak going. At least, in my opinion, you can't take that chance. Twin. The first actually good green. Twin is like actually good. There are 2 4 HP versions of this. The sides suck at default, but Twin is such a good item holder that he's good. Twin is actually unironically good. Jumble. I see a lot of Jumble hate. I think he's fine. Fluctuate means the sides change constantly. So what it means is, like, when he rolls his dice, this shield 2 side might be a mana side. It might be a repel 2 side, whatever. I think if you get a +1 to Jumble, he's really good. Or he's just good. Without it, I think he's okay. I think he's okay in the context of greens. I think if this was a normal character, I would hate him. But as a green, I think he's fine. Dice again, whatever. He's like okay. He can like The average roll here is what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His average roll is a 3, so he's kind of hitting 3s everywhere, but sometimes he'll just hit nothing. And I think it's for those sort of variants, the dice isn't very good. Robot. He's probably the best here. If he gets a single +1, he pops off. This side becomes really good, this side becomes really good. Even this side is okay. The rest of his sides are whatever, but sometimes the pain boost can be good. But I don't value that item much anyway, so yeah. And here we are, Tainted. There he is. Stasis blanks, 3 cleaves, very good. 4 poison, very good. 3 shield cleave, pretty okay. Gain a random tier 4 curse. Yeah, he can just murder you, okay. The sides are good, but the amount of damage he can do to you is insane. He can give you barricade, he can give you shield response, which would be awful. He can give you all sorts of really awful things that you cannot click on this guy and you cannot random into him if you want to keep a streak going, because you will just lose. Okay, looks like I'm done with the list. That was a lot of yapping from me, and now my throat kind of hurts, so I'm gonna go drink some water. But it was fun making this, and I had a good think about my opinions, and it'll be nice to see how they change. I can look back on this list and see, how my opinions have changed. Okay, cool. Bye. I'll see you next time.